Okay, so I want you to try something for me.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, just picture a world where every single piece of advice you've ever gotten from, your parents, your teachers, your boss, is not just wrong, but actively dangerous.
Okay, I'm with you.
A world where success is actually a trap, where democracy is the pursuit of mediocrity, and where the shortest path to getting what you want is, well, it's definitely not a straight line.
It sounds like we're stepping into the Twilight Zone or maybe a very aggressive philosophy seminar, but you're describing the world according to an author named Su Feng.
We are diving deep today into a collection of essays called Unconventional Thinking, or Fan
Hmm.
Chongxi Wei. And when he says unconventional, he really means inverse.
Hmm.
I mean, the whole premise is that humanity has been wearing its mental underwear on the outside for thousands of years, and he's here to fix it.
That is a vivid image, but it really captures the spirit of the text. Xu Feng's main point is that we're all bound by these invisible ropes, conventional logic, social norms, these ideas of good and evil. He argues that what we call normality is actually a state of abnormality. We've been taught to see the world upside down, so to us, the truth just looks distorted.
It's the ultimate red pill moment, but instead of waking up in a pod, you wake up realizing that maybe you should be wearing your socks over your shoes.
Which, believe it or not, is actually in there.
It is. But before we get to the fashion advice, we have to start with the geometry. He grounds his entire philosophy in a shape. I think most of you will recognize it.
The Mobius strip.
Exactly, the Mobius strip.
Right. Most people know this from math class or maybe some art. Take a strip of paper, you give it a half twist, just 180 degrees, and you tape the ends together.
And suddenly you break the rules of 2D space.
You do. A normal strip has two sides, right? An inside and an outside.
Mm-hmm.
A Mobius strip has only one. If you're an ant walking along it, you can walk over the entire surface, what used to be front and back, without ever crossing an edge.
So distinction just vanishes. It becomes one thing.
It becomes a unity.
Yeah.
And for Xu Feng, this isn't just a cool party trick. He thinks the whole universe actually works like this.
So we run around obsessing over opposites, success versus failure, up versus down, gain versus loss. But he's saying those are just illusions caused by our perspective.
Precisely. He uses the globe as a perfect example.
Yeah.
We all agree that the North Pole is up and the South Pole is down, but that's just a convention we made up.
Right.
I mean, if you're standing in Oslo and I'm in Cape Town, gravity is holding us both down. Neither of us is upside down. The universe itself doesn't have an up.
So if there's no up or down, there's no winning or losing either. Which brings us to the essay that I think is going to ruffle the most feathers. Success is a trap.
Oh, for sure. It's the one that flies most directly in the face of, well, all of modern culture. We live in a world that worships the hustle, forging ahead, grinding, optimizing.
And he calls that a devil's trick.
He does. He brings up that old parable of the fisherman and the businessman. You know the one.
Yeah, the MBA tells the fisherman to build a huge canning empire so he can eventually retire and relax on the beach.
And the fisherman just says, but I'm already relaxing on the beach. Now, usually, that story is about enjoying the moment. But Wei Feng takes it like a step further. He's not just saying relax. He's arguing that ambition itself is biologically unnatural.
How so?
He looks at the animal kingdom. You don't see a sheep trying to take leadership courses to become a lion. You don't see a mouse trying to engineer a better hole than its grandfather. They just exist according to their nature.
So when humans try to forge ahead or be outstanding, we're fighting our own design.
He says it's like trying to teach a bull to produce milk.
I laughed at that image, but it's kind of tragic when you apply it to people. We spend our whole lives trying to be something we aren't because we're told that's success.
And look at the result. He points to emperors, conquerors, CEOs. And he asks, are they happy? Or are they just stressed, dust in the wind? He has this striking line. He says, I cannot see a single successful person. I only see lives crushed by success. He believes that encouraging someone to be ambitious is basically telling them to sprint toward their own grave.
It recontextualizes the entire self-help industry as, I don't know, some kind of death cult.
Yeah.
But if you think his take on personal success is counterintuitive, his view on how we organize society is even sharper.
Yeah, he pivots from the personal to the political. And I have to say, he does not pull any punches when it comes to democracy.
No, he really doesn't.
And this is where I think we just have to separate our own conditioning from his logic. We're just reporting what he writes. And he writes an essay titled, Democracy is the Pursuit of Mediocrity.
Ouch.
Yeah. His argument rests on the idea of the sage versus the crowd. He quotes this old Chinese saying, 3 cobblers equal 1 zhujiang, which is supposed to praise collective wisdom.
And he rejects that.
Completely. He argues that 3,000 cobblers could never match the vision of one truly wise strategist.
It's the design by committee problem, but on a massive scale.
He uses a wolf and sheep analogy.
Yeah.
You can have a flock of 1,000 sheep. They can vote, they can debate, they can form a committee, but one wolf will still scatter them. He argues that collective decision-making by, in his words, mediocre people inevitably leads to mediocrity or disaster.
So he sees democracy as a way for people to just hide in the crowd, avoid taking responsibility.
That's a big part of it. It connects back to his view of cosmic order. He looks at an orchestra. You can't have the violin section vote on the tempo every 4 measures.
Yeah, you'd have chaos.
You need a conductor, one conductor. He believes the universe, and by extension societies, require a singular high-level vision, a sage, or the one, not a show of hands.
Which feels authoritarian to our ears, but in his unconventional framework, it's just competence versus chaos. Now, usually when you hear someone bashing democracy, you expect them to be all about duty and sacrifice. But then, bam, he hits us with this. The most selfish are those who live for others.
This was the twist that really caught me off guard.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all raised to believe altruism is the highest virtue.
And he flips it.
Completely. He says that living for others is often a form of hypocrisy, or even a crime against that person's freedom.
A crime.
Think about the peach tree.
I loved this analogy. A peach tree's job is to make peaches. That's it.
Right. So if a peach tree decides, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice my fruit to go help the grapevine next door, 2 things happen. 1, it becomes a useless peach tree. And 2, it starts interfering with the grapevine.
And he says people who live for others, parents who live for their kids, martyrs who live for a cause, are actually just burdening those people with a massive debt of gratitude.
It's the guilt trip mechanism. Look at everything I suffered for you.
Exactly. He calls it interfering rudely with the nature and freedom of others. He suggests true order comes when everyone takes radical responsibility for themselves. If everyone tends their own garden, the whole world is fed.
That is such a relieving thought, actually. It's not about being greedy. It's about staying in your lane so you don't crash into everyone else.
But then he takes this autonomy idea and applies it to our personal lives in a way that is, well, let's just say it's not going to be popular on Valentine's Day.
You're talking about his views on special relationships.
Yeah. He basically says that having a best friend, a spouse, or even a tight-knit family is the root of all suffering.
And it's consistent with his logic. He asks, why are you anxious? Why do you worry? That's almost always because of some special connection. You worry about your child, your partner, your reputation.
He points to that old historical concept, the implication of 9 generations, where if you committed a crime, your entire family was punished too.
Which still happens, just metaphorically.
Yeah.
If your spouse goes bankrupt, you go down with them.
So these ropes of connection are traps.
In his vision of an ideal existence, he calls it the 1,000-year world, there are no families. People are just independent entities. He believes emotional independence is the only real path to freedom.
Which leads to his take on romance, which is expansive. He writes an essay called An Amorous Heart is the Truest Heart.
He critiques monogamy as a devil's program. But listen to his logic. He uses a flower analogy. If a flower blooms, does it say, I will only show my beauty to John, but if Dave walks by, I'm going to wilt?
No. If it did, we'd call it a monster, not a flower.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He argues that the human heart is designed to love beauty and people broadly, to be amorous. Forcing it to focus on only one person is like telling the sun to shine on only one house.
Yeah.
It's artificial.
So forced loyalty is fake, but an amorous heart is authentic.
That's his take. It's a radical deconstruction of everything we're taught about family and love. But he doesn't stop at social structures. He goes deeper into the actual fabric of reality. We have to talk about his metaphysics.
The classic debate, existence versus consciousness.
The old Marxian debate. Does your environment determine your mind, or does your mind determine your environment? Xifeng is firmly, and I mean firmly, in the consciousness determines existence camp.
And he uses some really interesting and frankly quite stark comparisons from his own travels to prove this.
He does. He talks about a time in Zimbabwe. He talks about Western homes and then environments he saw in China. He describes these Western homes as meticulously orderly lawns mode, kitchens spotless. Then he contrasts that with the disorder he saw elsewhere.
But here's the key. He insists this isn't about money.
Not at all. He specifically mentions a Chinatown in New York. You're one of the richest cities on earth, but if that specific neighborhood is messy, it's not because they lack funds for brooms.
It's a projection of the collective mind.
That's his argument. He says if you took people with an orderly consciousness and put them in a slum, it would be clean in a month. And if you took people with a disordered consciousness and put them in a palace, it would eventually degrade. The material world is just a printout of our internal state.
So if you want to change your life, rearranging the furniture doesn't matter. You have to rearrange your neurons.
And that rearranging of neurons has eternal stakes for him, which leads to his absolute certainty about reincarnation.
The story of Shanti Devi. I had not heard this one before, but it's a famous case.
It's a classic in parapsychology. This young girl in Delhi, I think she was 7, who started claiming she was actually from a different city, Mathura. She knew the dialect, the name of her former husband, that she had 3 children.
And investigators took her there.
They did.
Yeah.
And she supposedly identified the house, the family members. For Sifeng, this isn't a ghost story. It's data.
It's proof that consciousness survives the body.
Right. And he even offers a mechanism for where it goes. He talks about this hypothetical color scanner.
This was wild. He says if you could scan a dying person's brain, the color would tell you their destination.
It's a metaphor for the frequency of your soul. If your brain waves are purple, you're heading to Elysium. Red, green, or blue, the 1,000-year world. White means you're coming back as a human to try again.
And black.
And black.
Well, that's the netherworld.
It's like a cosmic report card. But it reinforces his point. Your consciousness is the only thing that's real, which makes his fear of tampering with the body. It makes a lot of sense. We have to talk about his essay on genetic engineering. All the devils are coming out of caves.
Yes.
This is where the text shifts from philosophical to, visceral horror. He doesn't see DNA as just code we can edit. He sees genetic codes as golden locks placed there by the creator to keep chaos at bay.
The imagery he uses is straight out of a Cronenberg movie. He's not talking about slightly better corn. He's talking about waking up to find people growing tails.
Or calling your friend and hearing chirping because they've grown a beak.
Yeah. Or cockroaches bigger than eagles. Potatoes growing like hills and blocking the highway.
It sounds totally hyperbolic, but you have to look at the underlying fear. He's arguing that we are like hackers trying to rewrite an operating system we don't understand.
We can crack the password, but we don't know what that password was protecting.
Exactly. He thinks that by mixing species and editing genes, we are dissolving the very boundaries that define reality. And he warns that once those devils are out, once that species barrier is breached, there is no undo button.
It's the ultimate expression of that success is a trap idea. We think we're improving nature, but we're actually just unleashing chaos because we're too arrogant to respect the design.
We are trying to draw a straight line to perfection, but nature doesn't work in straight lines.
Which brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. His obsession with logic, and specifically the straight line paradox. This is the one that really stuck with me.
It's a beautiful concept.
Yeah.
He argues that the straight line is actually the longest distance between 2 points.
Which breaks every rule of geometry I learned in 4th grade.
On paper, a straight line is shortest. But we don't live on paper. We live on a sphere.
Ah.
If you want to go from Beijing to New York, you cannot go in a straight line. You'd have to tunnel through the Earth's magma core. You have to curve.
But he applies this to life strategies, too. The direct approach is usually the failure approach.
Think about it. If you want to get someone to agree with you, do you just walk up and scream your argument in their face? That's a straight line. It fails.
You have to curve. You buy them a drink, you ask about their day, you find common ground.
If you want to court a lover, you don't just state the objective. You dance. You date. You curve. He calls the straight line brute force and the curve wisdom. The wise detour.
It's about flexibility. If you just charge forward back to that ambition idea, you just crash.
And that's where he brings up the blind zone. He thinks we're all rushing around like rabbits crossing a highway, totally blind to the giant truck that's coming.
Oh, rabbit, why do you hurry?
He asks that. If the rabbit just stopped, it would be safe. But it rushes to its death because it thinks speed is safety. And we rush toward marriage, toward careers, toward wealth, not realizing we're rushing into anxiety and traps.
So if the whole world is a trap, if success is bad, straight lines are long, and helping people is selfish, how are we supposed to live? What's the takeaway?
I think the answer is in his concept of self-anesthesia.
Which sounds like drug use, but it isn't.
No, it's mental detachment. He says that when he realized the world was upside down, he had to numb himself to the normal world. To be sane in an insane world, you have to look crazy.
Normality is abnormal and abnormality is normal.
Exactly. If everyone is running toward a cliff because they think there's gold at the bottom, the person standing still looks like the idiot. But they are the only one who survives. Shifeng is inviting us to be the person standing still.
It's a call to cut the ropes, to look at your life, your job, your relationships, your goals, and ask, am I doing this because it's my nature, like the peach tree, or am I doing it because I'm a sheep following the flock?
And if you find a rope, don't be afraid to twist it. The Mobius strip teaches us that if you just twist your perspective, you might find a path that wasn't there before.
I think that's the perfect place to land. We've gone from geometry to giant cockroaches, but the message is consistent.
Yeah.
Don't just believe the script you were handed.
Question the shape of your reality.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. I think I'm going to go try and put my socks over my shoes and see if I reach enlightenment.
Good luck with that.
See you next time.